The moment she said it, the whole cafe seemed to go silent. "I'm not fit for any man," she whispered, staring into her coffee like it held every mistake she'd ever made. Daniel Carter, a 35-year-old single dad, froze halfway through wiping his daughter's spilled juice from the table. He wasn't trying to listen, but those words landed hard. The woman sat alone in the corner booth. Early 30s, tired eyes, hair loosely tied like she hadn't cared enough to fix it properly. Across from her, a friend looked helpless. "You're kind, Sarah," the friend insisted. "You just went through a bad relationship." Sarah shook her head slowly. "No. I ruined things. I'm not someone a good man should choose." Daniel felt something twist in his chest. He knew that tone. That quiet voice of someone who had been told too many times that they weren't enough. His little daughter, Lily, tugged his sleeve. "Daddy, why is that lady sad?" Daniel looked over again. Sarah quickly wiped her eyes, trying to hide the tears. For a moment he considered ignoring it. Most people would. But Daniel had learned something raising Lily alone after losing his wife. Sometimes a single moment of kindness can change the direction of someone's entire day, maybe even their life. He stood up, grabbed 2 cookies from the counter, and walked towards Sarah's table. Her friend looked confused as he gently set the cookies down. "My daughter insisted you might need these," he said with a warm smile. Sarah blinked in surprise. But what Daniel said next made her completely speechless. Sarah blinked at the cookies, then at Daniel. I think you've got the wrong table," she said softly, embarrassed. Daniel shook his head with a small smile. "No, I don't think I do." He nodded toward the little girl waving shyly from their table. "That's Lily. She has a rule," he explained. "If someone looks sad, they deserve a cookie." Lily grinned proudly from across the cafe. For the first time in a while, Sarah's lips curved into a small, reluctant smile. "Your daughter sounds very wise," she said. Daniel shrugged lightly. "She had a good teacher, her mom. I'm still learning." Something in his voice carried a quiet honesty that made Sarah pause. Her friend glanced between them, sensing something deeper in the moment. Daniel hesitated for a second, then spoke again. "I couldn't help overhearing what you said," he admitted gently. "About not being fit for any man." Sarah's smile faded instantly. Her shoulders stiffened. "That must have sounded pathetic," she said quietly. "No," Daniel said firmly. "It sounded like someone who's been hurt." The words hung in the air. Sarah looked down at her hands. "My ex used to say I was too emotional, too complicated, too broken to love," she confessed. "After a while you start believing it." Daniel nodded slowly. "I get that," he said. Sarah looked up, surprised. Daniel glanced back at Lily, who was now carefully stacking sugar packets into a tower. "When my wife passed away 3 years ago," he said, "I thought my life was over. I believed no one would ever see me as anything more than a man with too much baggage." Sarah's eyes softened. "But Lily taught me something," he continued. "What?" Sarah asked quietly. Daniel smiled gently. "The right people," he said, "don't see your scars as problems. They see them as proof you survived." Sarah felt something shift in her chest. But she had no idea that Lily was about to say something that would change everything. Before Sarah could respond, a tiny voice called from across the cafe. "Daddy! The sugar tower fell!" Lily slid off her chair and hurried over, her small sneakers tapping against the floor. She stopped beside Daniel and peeked curiously at Sarah. "Hi," Lily said shyly. Sarah smiled softly. "Hi there." Daniel gently placed a hand on Lily's shoulder. "This is Sarah. She's having a tough day." Lily tilted her head, studying Sarah with the serious concentration only children seem to have. "My teacher says tough days don't last forever," Lily announced. Sarah chuckled lightly. "Your teacher sounds very smart." Lily nodded proudly. Then she looked at Sarah again, noticing the faint redness around her eyes. "Did someone make you sad?" she asked. Sarah hesitated. She wasn't used to being asked such honest questions. A little, she admitted. Lily thought about that for a moment. Then she climbed onto the booth seat beside Sarah without hesitation. You know, Lily said matter-of-factly, my daddy says people who hurt others are the broken ones, not the people they hurt. Daniel blinked, slightly surprised. I said that? He asked. Lily nodded confidently. Uh-huh. When I cried because the kids at school said I was weird. Sarah looked at Daniel, curiosity in her eyes. Daniel rubbed the back of his neck, smiling awkwardly. Well, it's true. Sarah felt a lump form in her throat. For years she had believed she was the problem. The one who wasn't good enough. The one who ruined things. Yet here was a little girl, maybe 6 years old, speaking a truth she had never allowed herself to hear. Lily gently pushed one of the cookies towards Sarah. You should eat it, she said. Cookies help sad people think better. Sarah laughed through the tears now forming in her eyes. But what Lily said next caught both adults completely off guard. Sarah wiped her eyes, still smiling through the emotion. You're very kind, Lily, she said softly. Lily studied her face for another moment, as if carefully thinking about something important. Then she asked the question no adult in the room expected. Are you broken? Daniel nearly choked on his breath. Lily, he started, embarrassed. But Sarah gently raised a hand, stopping him. It was such a simple question, yet somehow it didn't feel cruel. It felt honest. Sarah looked down at the table for a moment before answering. Sometimes it feels like I am, she admitted quietly. Lily frowned, clearly not satisfied with that answer. My daddy says broken things can still be special, she said. My favorite teddy lost an eye, but I love him even more. Daniel laughed softly under his breath. Sarah felt another wave of emotion rising in her chest. Lily continued with complete seriousness. Maybe you just need someone who doesn't throw you away. The words landed deeper than the little girl could ever understand. For years, Sarah had only met people who tried to fix her, change her, or eventually walk away when she wasn't perfect. Daniel watched Sarah's expression carefully. He saw something shift in her eyes, like a door opening that had been locked for a long time. He cleared his throat gently. For what it's worth, he said, I don't think you're broken. Sarah looked up. You don't even know me, she said. Daniel smiled kindly. Maybe not, he admitted. But I know what strength looks like. Sarah felt her heart beat a little faster. Then Daniel said something that made the moment suddenly feel much bigger than just a conversation in a cafe. And sometimes, he added softly, the strongest people are the ones who believe they're the least worthy of love. Sarah had no idea how much those words were about to change her life. For a moment, none of them spoke. The cafe buzzed softly in the background, but at the small booth, time seemed to slow. Sarah looked at Daniel, trying to understand why a complete stranger would say something so sincere. Why are you being so kind to me? She asked quietly. Daniel leaned back slightly, thinking. Because someone once did the same for me, he said. Sarah waited, sensing there was more. When my wife passed away, I stopped believing life could be good again, Daniel explained. I was just existing, working, raising Lily, going through the motions. He glanced at his daughter, who was happily nibbling the edge of a cookie. Then one day, an older man at a park saw me struggling to calm Lily down. He didn't know me at all, but he sat next to me and said something I'll never forget. Sarah leaned forward slightly. What did he say? Daniel smiled. He said, life doesn't stop giving beautiful moments just because we went through ugly ones. Sarah felt the words settle deeply in her chest. For years she had been measuring her future by the pain of her past. Maybe that wasn't the way life worked. Daniel gently slid the second cookie closer to her. You don't have to prove your worth to the wrong people, he said softly. The right ones will already see it. Sarah stared at the cookie for a second, then finally took a bite. For the first time in a long time, she felt something unfamiliar. Hope. Lily clapped her hands happily. See? Cookies work. Everyone laughed. And in that small cafe, a woman who believed she wasn't fit for any man began to believe she might still be worthy of love.